Hello, beautiful people. My name is IELTS-Banke and I welcome you to another lesson on the IELTS classes, online classes with Banke. My name is IELTS-Banke and I am the professional teacher. I help you achieve your learning goals by breaking down hard concepts into simple, easy to understand learning points for you. So today we're going to be learning how to answer questions on sentence completion in the listening module. The section 4 of the listening module usually requires you to fill in some empty spaces. So this lesson, having received a series of questions from my students, I have decided to dedicate this video lesson to each and every one of you out there who is struggling to answer section 4 of the listening module, right? So at the end of this lesson, you will be able to understand how to choose the correct answer as you listen to the audio. So let's get into the lesson right about now. I'm going to share the screen so that you can learn how to do just that. So here we are today. We are going to learn how to choose the correct answers for sentence completion question type. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, I want you to click the subscribe word just somewhere in the video at the base of the video and hit the notification bell so that you will be the very first person to know once new videos are released. So now, how do you choose the correct answer in section 4 of the listening module? How can you tell when you are approaching the answer? How can you use synonyms as indicators? And how do you choose the correct answer? That is the goal of this lesson, and I will take some examples right about now so that you can learn how to apply what you will learn in this video as you practice the listening module. Let me recommend to you that the number one highly recommended materials that you should be using when you are practicing to take the IELTS examination, whether the general training or the academic training, is the Cambridge materials. All right, so the examples that I will be using in this video have been taken from the Cambridge materials. Here is a question on how a section 4 question in the listening module. Here's a question. This is what it looks like. You are going to see that you have to fill in this blank space. You need to complete the sentence with a word, and you need to pay attention to the instruction given at the beginning of that section. You could be asked to just fill with just one word, or you could be asked to fill with no more than 2 words. It's important that you read the instruction before you choose you need to read the instructions. That will help you to know the number of words that you should insert to complete the sentence. If the instruction says no more than 2 words, then you mustn't write more than 2 words. And if the instruction says 1 word, then make sure that you only put 1 word. So this is what the question in section 4 looks like. And you are going to listen to the audio right about now and then you can choose what the answer will be. So here's the audio. Listen. You know that you're only going to get to listen to it once.
These people, usually men, would meet to drink coffee and chat about issues of the day. But at the time, this chance to share ideas and opinions was seen as something that was potentially dangerous. And in 1623, the ruler of Constantinople demanded the destruction of all the coffee houses in the city. Although after his death, many new ones opened and coffee consumption continued. In the 17th century, coffee drinking spread to Europe, and here too, coffee shops became places where ordinary people, nearly always men, could meet to exchange ideas. Because of this, some people said that these places performed a similar function to universities. The opportunity they provided for people to meet together outside their own homes and to discuss the topics of the day had enormous impact on.
And that is the end of the audio. So this is what the script looks like when you look at what was just played to you to listen to once. So you see it reads, these people, usually men, would meet to drink coffee and chat about issues of the day. But at the time, this chance to share ideas and opinions was seen as something that was potentially dangerous. And in 1623, the ruler of Constantinople demanded the destruction of all the coffee houses in the city. Although after his death, many new ones opened and coffee consumption continued. In the 17th century, if we go back to the question, you would see that before the particular question, this sentence here says coffee arrives in Europe, 17th century. Once you hear in the 17th century, you know that the answer is approaching, and so you need to tune your ears quickly to catch the answer. That is the word that you are going to use to complete the sentence. You will see that there was nothing about the 16th century here. The 17th century, I beg your pardon, there was nothing about the 17th century. So you would just basically be listening here. But when it got to a point as you listen to the audio, you would hear in the 17th century, coffee drinking spread to Europe, and here too, coffee shops became places where ordinary people, nearly always men, could meet to exchange ideas. Because of this, some people said that these places performed a similar function to universities. We go back to the question and you will see similar functions is more of a synonym to compared to. When you are talking about similarities, you are basically making a comparison, right? So you see that similar functions to. Again, remember, recall that you should not particularly look out to hear the words that will be used as the audio is playing in the question. So this is where you will be able to use synonyms to know that your answer is approaching. So here you see, because of this, some people say that these places perform a similar function to where universities. So the word there, which is your answer, will be universities. 1. So your correct answer will be universities. Did you get that? All right. I'm going to take a second example so that when you practice, you can tell me in the comments if you were able to get the answers correctly this time as you do your practice. So here's another question. Recall that this is what your question would look like. These advantages may not necessarily, you will not necessarily hear advantages. You are going to look out for a word that is a synonym to advantages, and that gives you a clue that you are approaching the answer. And some things will be said as the tape plays that will help you to know that the answer is approaching. Now let's listen to the audio recording here.
This system had quite a lot in its favor. Unlike solar and wind energy, it doesn't depend on the weather. The turbines are operated without the need for fuel, so it doesn't create any greenhouse gas emissions, and very little maintenance is needed. Although,
so what do you think the answer would be? Did you hear the word advantage at all? I'm sure you wouldn't hear the word particularly. You would not hear advantage particularly, but you will hear a synonym to the word advantage that tells you that you are approaching the answer, and you will also hear this word weather, about the weather. So let's look at the audio script and see what the answer is. So this system has quite a lot in its favor. Favor is like a synonym to advantage here, right? And then it says, unlike solar and wind energy, it doesn't depend on the weather. Remember that there's weather in the question. The turbines are operated without the need for. That's another synonym and paraphrase. So it doesn't create any greenhouse gas emissions, and very little maintenance is needed. Can you see here? Not dependent on weather. And when you will hear it, you will hear it doesn't depend on the weather. So it doesn't depend on the weather. It's pretty much the same as not dependent. Can you see how the paraphrase has been made there? And as you follow the audio while listening, you will see that the turbines are operated without the need for. Without the need for is also saying not required. So what is not required? What is not required? Your answer is fuel. So it doesn't create any greenhouse gas emissions. A number of my students chose maintenance, but from this explanation you can see that maintenance is the wrong word. All right, so I want you to apply this practice in your practice. To recap, when you want to answer questions on section 4, immediately you have a synonym to a particular word to point to the fact that you are approaching the particular question, just as you have here when they say this system has quite a lot in its favor. You can listen to the audio again. You can pause it, play it over and over until you get accustomed to it, right? So when you hear this system has quite a lot in its favor, you can see that the difference from this particular question and the first one was that Favor is a synonym for advantages. That tells you that you're approaching your answer. And in this case, in the 17th century, which was written here, points to the fact that you are approaching that point where you should listen up for your answer, right? So you can listen to this again, go through this again as often as you want to until you are clear about it. Then go ahead and practice what you have just learned. If you found this video helpful, kindly share it to your friends who are also planning to take the IELTS examination. Share the video and please subscribe to the channel. I will be seeing you in the next lesson. If you have any questions, feel free to send me an email at IELTS-Banke@gmail.com, and also don't forget to hit the notification button so that you will be the very first to know when new video lessons are released in the channel. I hope you have learned something to help you in your practice. Remember, it is not just enough to practice. It is always very important for you to make sure that you know the right strategies to apply and implement them as you practice. Till I come your way in the next lesson, take care of yourself, stay safe, use your nose masks when you're going out, and take care of you. I'll see you in the next lesson. Cheers and bye. It's Banke, the professional teacher. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and stay safe. Bye. Cheers.